Good afternoon. On behalf of our team at RDIEC, we would like to welcome Daniel Price. He is here this afternoon to discuss with students, teachers, and parents about this incredible, powerful career exploration utilizing virtual reality technology. Having the ability to test the waters and explore potential career options before taking the next step in pursuing a career can be a powerful motivator. Work Prep Center is offering students the opportunity to use this to help them secure in-demand jobs within the province. Just a reminder before we begin that after you watch this presentation, please complete the survey found on our website either by using the QR code or going to our website at rdiec.ca. By completing the survey, you're automatically entered to win a $50 gift card, which will be drawn for at the end of every month. Good afternoon, Danny.
Awesome. Thanks, Doug, Renee, and Gordon, and the rest of the folks at RDEIC. As Doug had mentioned, I'm the virtual reality marketer here at Work Prep Center. So in Doug's introduction, he mentioned it quite well. What we do is we put folks through virtual reality, and it gives them a chance to try different careers that they may not have considered or even have had access to. So you'll be completing actual real life job tasks that you would find on any of these jobs. And the goal is to help to narrow down into an area that you think that you would do well in. So we're going to rip through the presentation here and hopefully get some interest. So Regina Work Prep Center, we're on Halifax, just near the Sask Energy building, just down, or actually just behind the Italian Star Deli and the folks that make those sandwiches. So what we do here is we help, we assist folks in looking for work, and virtual reality is just one part of what we do. So some of those folks can be school leavers, others can be adults that have been out of the workforce or looking to reskill. So we have quite a wide variety of folks that try out. And they come in and they can use virtual reality. It's all free. So all the services here don't cost anything. And we're hoping that we can provide an avenue for folks in their search for a vocation. So during the presentation, we'll talk a little bit about safety. Safety is always an important aspect, but even more so in times of COVID-19. So we'll explain a little bit about what we're doing to provide a safe environment for you to try virtual reality. Following that, we're going to look at the careers available. So right now we have 15 careers, and we'll give you a little bit of information about each one of them, what tasks you'll be completing, and also a bit of a look into the future. So we're excited over the next few months, we're going to bring in 10 more modules in 2 installments, and they're ranging from some additional trades as well as some exciting careers that are available in the agricultural sector. Following that, we're going to look at the labor market information. So when you come in for using this service, you'll go through the virtual reality. And then finally, after you complete the module, we'll have a conversation about what things you liked, what you didn't like about the job. Maybe there's some limitations. And then we'll generate a discussion, and we can help kind of narrow down some of the career paths. So. And we provide you with Saskatchewan based. So this isn't based on kind of Canada wide. This is specific to Saskatchewan, so that you know if you're looking at some of these particular careers, that you know that there's going to be steady jobs, even some job growth in those areas. And then finally, we'll have a look at one of the videos just to give a bit of an overview. So the introduction to VR. So Work Prep has they've gone out and they've invested in virtual reality. So we have two units here in the office. So they're mobile. So it's a laptop and a virtual reality headset. But they wanted to invest in virtual reality as it's something it's quite new. But what they're using it for is this going to be an actual hands-on experience. So you'll actually have the ability to try different careers. If you're in the excavator, the controls will be very, very similar to what you would find in a real life excavator. As an electrician, you'll be going through some of the very similar processes that an electrician would go through. And you'll do that in the 20 to 25 minutes. So you'll have a hands-on experience. You'll get to get the chance to try them. and it's going to provide tailored career information. So it's going to let you know kind of what industries that will be available, what sectors, what kind of companies would be hiring some of these different careers. And the virtual reality, I mentioned it is quite new, but some of the bigger companies are starting to incorporate it into their own training. So we have Boeing, NASA, Walmart, British Petroleum, UPS, ExxonMobil. So these are some of the companies that incorporate VR into their own training. Some of them, like NASA, I know that you can, some of the astronauts, when they're going up and they're about to do a spacewalk, they do some training through virtual reality. Walmart is about kind of dealing with customers, customer service. BP, they put through a lot of their safety training in a virtual reality. And one of the biggest benefits of it is it gives you the chance to try it without having any lasting impact. So if you are potentially interested, say, in heavy equipment, but you don't know how you would go about, trying that out, then virtual reality is a really good way of trying it out. If you hit the fence, well, it's just virtual. No one's going to fill an incident report out. It's going to give you the chance to see if this is what you would like to pursue. And then finally, it is a career exploration tool. So the key word in that sentence is it's a tool. It's not designed for real world experience. It's complementary. So it gives you a chance. Maybe some folks won't have the ability to go in and try becoming a process engineer, because to get to that stage is quite a bit of schooling. This will give you a bit of a fast forward button to see, hey, I could really see myself doing that career. And if so, then we provide the information on what you would need to do, or maybe slightly alternative paths as well, if there was some limitations. So we'll talk a bit about safety before we get ripping into the modules here. So with our safety protocol here, we have an envoy system. So when you enter the building here, you sign in, you have your temperature screened. At all times, we're wearing a mask and following social distancing policies. Once you've signed in, I meet you at the front, bring you around the back to where the VR center is set up, and we get you seated. So you're in quite a large room for safety reasons with the virtual reality. Depending on which module, if you're working on a standing up module like an electrician or a welder, you're going to need to move around. So we have quite a large space set up that's dedicated just for VR. The disinfectant, so everything is disinfectant here. So we have cleaners that operate throughout the day here. As well as on the right side, you can see actually one of our new purchases that came through last week. It's called the Clean Box. So what that does is we put the headset and the controllers, we put that in that unit, and it blasts it with UV light, which kills virus, including COVID. So it's just one of the things that we have here to make sure that we're providing a safe environment for folks that want to come in and try. Following that, we go through a bit of a consent, and we talk a little bit about the VR safety. So some of the people watching this video may have tried VR before, some may not have tried VR. So what I can say is with the VR, it's going to be a very real experience. For anyone who's never tried it before, the first thing I say is it's going to feel very real, and I can almost guarantee the first thing they say when they come out of VR is, oh my God, that was really real. So it's going to simulate, you'll be picking up tools just like you would in real life. We'll be able to see kind of how you are with your housekeeping and your tools, how you go about organizing the procedure or the process that you need to complete. So these will be things that we can have the discussion afterwards, but it will be really real. It's a slow-paced module. So I know with VR, with modern gaming systems, you can have zombies and all these kind of things. This is a nice, gentle experience. But anytime, if you feel unwell, you can let me know, and we can just take you out of the experience. So that's not a problem. There is a bit of a caution. So there is 4 categories of folks that VR might not be a good tool for. So I just want to really stress this. So the first one is if you've suffered major head trauma, if you get severe motion sickness, or if you suffer seizures, or finally, if you're pregnant. So that would be where we wouldn't recommend using VR as a career exploration tool. If you are a little bit unsure, I know we've had some people that go, okay, well, I have a little bit of motion sickness. We can put you through, and then we can start you in a nice gentle simulation. And then if you feel okay, then we can put you into the actual job career one. But all of the careers are quite gentle. There's not going to be any fast moving pieces or anything like that. So we're going to go through the actual careers that we have currently. So we'll spend a little bit of time going through each one individually. But before we do, so we've talked about the purpose. It is a career exploration tool. It's great for people that have no idea or they're not really sure about what they want to do. It's also really good for folks who have their mind set on something and they just want to, they want to go in and confirm maybe some of the careers that we have. I always say heavy equipment operator. Sometimes it's really hard to just get the chance to jump in the cab of one of those things before you start getting tickets. So this is a great opportunity to come in, try one of them to see how you feel with the heavy equipment or the mining equipment, which is an even larger piece of machinery. We often get, we kind of have, it's about maybe about 60-40. We have 60% of people that they love it, they feel really at home, and we have 40% of folks that this is definitely not what is not going to be a comfortable career for them, whether it's the stress or the isolation of being in the cab all day. So it's an interesting tool to gauge some of that. The length that you spend in virtual reality is around 20 to 25 minutes. So during that time, you'll go through a bit of a learning curve. For those who have never been in virtual reality, you'll probably spend the first few minutes just looking around going, wow. But then once you're used to the simulation, that's when you've become kind of immersed, and then we will actually get to see how you perform in some of these. None of the careers have any assumed prior knowledge. So that means that you can try any of the careers. We're not expecting you to know anything going in. All the tasks that you're required to do, they'll give you the instructions on how to do them. And if you get stuck, then I will be there and can guide you through the process. So it's a balanced approach, which means say for the electrician one, you're going to be in there for 20 to 25 minutes. There's no expectation that you're going to have an electrician's knowledge in that time. So they made it as realistic as possible while being as achievable as possible. I know for a fact, before I was in this role, I spent 7-8 years in oil and gas here in Canada. And I've completed quite a few of these tasks actually in real life, heavy equipment operator, some welding and pipe fitting. And I can tell you that the realism, it's quite real. Some of the things you'll be able to pick up that might be a little bit different in real life, but it is quite realistic. And then finally, we have we currently have 15 career simulations. So we'll go through them in a little bit of detail. I mentioned 10 new ones. So in the spring this year, we're looking at getting some additional trade ones. So they are the carpenter, millwright, plumber, commercial electrician, so this will be expanded a little bit on our current residential electrician, and a mechanic. So they're going to be some simulations that will be released in the spring. And then towards the end of 2021 here, we've actually got some agricultural ones, which will be really exciting. So agriculture, as you can imagine, has changed a lot over the years. The industry it's no longer the pitchfork and the farmer's tan. Instead, we're looking at some genetic modules. There's going to be some GIS and drone. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see what they come out with at the end of the year, and see how much that industry has changed. So these are, I'm going to go through the modules here. So we'll just give a little bit of information. You can see all the pictures that we have here. So this is footage of the actual simulation. So the first one in the heavy equipment operator there, you'll actually be sitting in the cab. So this is a seated module. So you'll be sitting down and you'll have the headset on and you will appear as though you're actually in the cab. We had someone in with a little bit of rock truck driving experience. So he was on the other end of the excavator. So he was getting the loads dumped. And he had mentioned he spent a little bit of time in the actual excavator, and he was really surprised at how the controls were fairly responsive and very, very similar to actual real machine. But in this one, you're actually going to go through a tutorial on how to operate the machines, the different functions. Then it'll get you to drive to the job site, which is around 500-600 meters away. And that's going to be where you're going to be excavating a ditch into the back of some dump trucks. So this one is definitely one of our more popular ones, and as well as having a lot of potential here in Saskatchewan. The middle one here, the mining machine operator. So this one is quite a large piece of machinery, so substantially larger than the excavator you're driving in the first one. It's a little bit slower and less responsive, but this module is actually based on an open pit mine just north of Labrador City. So you'd be operating a cable shovel excavator. So this one here, you're going to be taking the piece of machinery down to the base of the mine. So it's an open pit, as you can see in the picture there, and you'll be filling in one of the haul trucks there. So this one here will give you a little bit of an idea of some of the potential career opportunities in the mining sector here in Saskatchewan. The third one, the steel production worker. So this is one of the newer ones here. So you're going to be working in essentially a foundry. You're going to be using a basic oxygen furnace, and it produces molten steel from the iron. So the start of this module, you're going to get an order. You'll be selecting the correct grade of steel that you'll be making for the day. And then you'll be going through, so you're actually in the control tower, and you'll be operating various different mechanisms, from the magnet crane to the scrap box. So you'll be incorporating all of those things. So this one's going to look at a lot of attention to detail because, as you can see from the dashboard in front of you in the picture, there's quite a lot of moving parts. So how accurate you are, and how you can disseminate information and produce the results. So the next three, so these are all some of the newer ones that came out recently. The CNC Operator. So this one here, you'll be working on a vertical milling machine. So you're going to be doing a little bit of programming. So you'll have the piece that you'll be fabricating. You'll have the drawings, and it's your job to kind of go through. You'll look at the drill bit sizes, where the different cuts are laid, and you'll go through and you'll actually input the code commands. So it's not as technical as it looks or as it appears in the picture there, but that glove, it's essentially it's pointing to one of the commands. So it'll say, okay, on this axis, you're going to be inserting the drill here and then moving around. So the next one is the manual machinist. So very similar to the CNC operator, how this one is more on the manual side. So this one is a lot of mechanical aptitude, so cranks. We had a young gentleman that had completed his first year at SAS Poly in the machinist program there, and he enjoyed himself. Pointed out a few of the different things that he would find in the real piece of equipment, but was still quite satisfied with the realism. So this one here, as you can imagine, you got a lot of moving parts. A lot of pinch and crush points. So when you go through the simulation, you'll be able to say, okay, this is definitely not where you would put your hand in real life. So there'll actually be a little hand symbol with the little cross that comes up to tell you, hey, you're not meant to. If you were operating this in real life, it's definitely not. This is going to be a crush point. The sheet metal worker. So the next one here. So this one's an interesting one. So you're going to actually be installing some venting. So you're going to get the drawing, as you can see in the picture, and you'll be in charge of selecting the pieces, the correct grade of steel, and then you're going to be fabricating and then finally installing. So you go through all the process through this one. So these would be kind of similar, like really good opportunities for people that kind of want to go to work, that know how to do their job, and they just want to go into their groove and kind of go through. So they're not looking for
You're good.
Okay. So we'll had a bit of an internet connection problem there. So just I'll just recap the sheet metal worker. So during this this module here, you'll be selecting the grade of steel that you'll be using to make some ducting, and then you'll be fabricating it as well as installing. So in this simulation, you're going to get quite a wide variety of tasks to complete. But I mentioned just before I got disconnected, some of the careers like this one are really good for folks that kind of want a little bit of variety in the tasks they do all day, but they don't want to be constantly problem solving and having to think. They want a job to come to, perform their job well, and then go home. So this is one of the ones that we would recommend for folks that that problem solving and having to constantly think of what's going wrong is probably not one of the better ones, whereas an electrician or an HVAC technician would have some of those elements. So now we'll move on to so stick welding. So we have two welding modules here: stick melt welding or sheet metal arc welding. So in this module, you're going to be welding some I-beams together. So you're going to be up on some scaffolding. So this is one of the interesting things with virtual reality. Even though we just place you in a room with no props or anything like that, what you'll see is you'll actually be up about 2 to 3 stories on some scaffolding, and you'll be welding the I-beams together. So this one will go through some of the process. It is one of the more popular ones. As you can see in the demonstration here, the individual has the face shield on, so got that on to protect them from arc flash. And there's a series of, I think, 4 I-beams whenever you're doing welding. So that is one of the things that folks who have never done welding before is rarely are you kind of sitting down or standing at a workbench, but when you're welding, doing things like that, you're going to be having to lay on your back. You'll be getting into all sorts of different positions throughout the day. So for folks who that might be a challenge, this will help kind of identify some of those areas. So the construction welder is one of the newer ones as well. So this goes through some MIG, TIG, and stick. So you'll be going through a variety of different tasks. I think the first task is you're going to be fixing a broken skid steer. And then you're going to be welding some rebar as well as some pipe together. So this one will go through some of the different processes in welding and what you would use it for, as well as some of the safety elements as well. From the picture you can see, so this one is in a downtown high-rise. So once again, for folks who have a little bit of vertigo or not comfortable with heights, we wouldn't recommend this one, just because of the nature of kind of the work location. The next one is the pipe fitter. So this one here, you're going to be working on it's a water pipe. So you're going to be out in a remote location. So your job is you'll have the blueprints for the dimensions of the pipe that you need to install. So you're going to be measuring, marking, and then putting your pipe tape around the pipe, making the cut and then installing the flanges you can see on either side. Once that's done, then you'll be working with the operator who's going to lower the piece into the place. So you'll be in a little ditch, and then you're going to be doing the bolt up. So that goes through kind of some of the process of what a pipe fitter would do each day. And okay, we have 6 more here. So these ones here, the HVAC technician. So I touched on this one briefly. So HVAC is heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. So these folks work up on roofs. So you can imagine there's going to be a lot of working at heights. Some of them can be kind of, high rises. Some can be just kind of 1-story buildings. You'll be looking at a lot of commercial and industrial, as well as a little bit of residential as well. So in this one here, you're going to be working on a high rise. For me, it looks like being downtown Moose Jaw in the few buildings that look like that. But you'll be in charge of identifying what's going wrong with the units. So it could be bad compressor, it could be faulty wiring, broken fan blade. So there's a multitude of different things that could be going wrong, and your job is to identify what the issue is and then go through the process of fixing it. So we mentioned with the sheet metal worker as having a job where you kind of go to work and what you need to do. A HVAC technician gets called out because it's a problem and someone doesn't know what the issue is. Otherwise, it probably wouldn't have been a problem. And your job is to identify what that is. So for folks who want a little bit of problem solving, a little bit of like a difference of variety, HVAC, residential electrician, another really good option. So in the electrician module, so I mentioned earlier, there's going to be a commercial one coming out in the next few months, which will go through a few more aspects. But in the residential one, you'll be working in a basement suite. So this is going to be an old house. So if you can imagine, in some of the old houses, some of the wiring is a little bit old and outdated. Definitely, they're using fuses still as opposed to circuit breakers. So you'd be going through some of the tasks that an electrician would perform. Checking voltage requirements, fixing broken wires, blowing fuses, things like that. So the next one on our list, the robotic welder operator. So we have two robotics ones, and these ones are kind of interesting because when we got this, as you can imagine, there's not a big demand for robotics in Saskatchewan here at the moment. These ones are definitely geared a lot for the Ontario, so the car manufacturing industry. But in the last few months, some of you noticed Raven Industries is looking at setting a shop out in Emerald Park. So this will be an area that I think is going to become there'll be a bit more of a demand. So in the robotics welder operator, this one you're going to be working on some wind turbines. So you'll be inputting all the welds. So you'll be selecting the correct type of welds, looking at charts, and you'll be going through the process here. And this one's an interesting caveat here as well. We've had a few people that are not going to. Excuse me. So we've had a few folks go through the welding. The welding. 1 second. I have to keep my door closed, and it gets like 100 degrees. I feel like I'm back in Australia in summer. So the robotics welding operator, we've had a few folks who've had to going through nursing. And one of the interesting things is you would imagine, say, nursing being very different from what this job is. But there's a lot of similarities. So some of the things is this is a time management module. So you'll be tasked with inputting the weld commands. They're going to be looking for accuracy as well as some kind of time management. So you'll be ripping through, they'll be checking, you'll be cross-referencing in the chart that you have in the module, and it's going to be going through and assess some of those skills. So the two nurses that we had, or the two nursing students that we put through, that was something that they kind of mentioned, that there was a lot of similarities with some of the work that they do, that you've got to be prompt, you've got to have good attention to detail, is really important. So it was some of the things that I thought was kind of funny. On the next slide here, we have the final three. So the robotics technician, you're actually going to be performing some maintenance on the actual robotic, on the arms. So you'll be running diagnostics, identifying what the issues are, submitting performance logs, as well as performing the maintenance itself. So this one here is a little bit more variety as well. And then finally, our two engineering ones that we currently have. So the first one is a mining engineer. So this one's going to take you through the life cycle of a mine. So first, before the mine is established, they do their surveying. So you'll be operating a drone. Then you'll be working with the geologist report, and you'll be going through kind of areas of concentration of ore and selecting the correct location as well as the correct mine type. And then finally, you'll be working with some explosives as what some of the mining engineers do. The process engineer, so this one here is our final one that we have on the list. And so this one, you're going to be working in an iron ore pelletization plant. So the screenshot, you can see the little picture. You've got 4 different machines that you'd be kind of in charge of, and they're going to break down. The joke I always make with this one is this job's a bit like Denzel Washington, who plays the roles in all of his movies, but a lot of things will go wrong. There'll be a lot of pressure. They'll have the red light flashing. You'll hear the alarm saying the optimization levels are quite low. So this one will be able to see how you deal with a bit of pressure. For folks who think, yeah, I could work under pressure in those kind of scenarios, it's a really interesting module to put some of those folks through. And I will have a little caveat on the engineering ones as well. If you are looking at pursuing a career in this, but you're not ready to commit, say, 4 years to a bachelor's in an engineering degree, there's also some alternative paths as well. So there's some technician roles in that. Some SAS Poly has some great programs. So when we do the debrief, we can talk about kind of what's realistic and what as far as career paths go. So those are the 15 modules we currently have, and as mentioned, we have some additional ones coming out here in 2021, which we're really excited to bring out. So the labor market information. So we mentioned the actual module goes for approximately 20 to 25 minutes. Through the rest of the time we spend together is essentially we have a debrief session, and that's what we talked about, what you enjoyed in the module, what you didn't enjoy during this hour-long session. So I'll be in the room, and potentially maybe a case manager if you're registered here and you'd like to work with a case manager. But our job is to provide some observations. So we'll notice a few things, like say, for example, you wanted to know how you'd work with heights. And when you get put in the HVAC one, we can see how well you do in that scenario, and it will lead to some discussion points. Maybe you really enjoyed, say, the problem solving of HVAC, but you weren't comfortable with having to kneel and get up and get down all day, then we can look at some alternative options that have some of the areas that you really liked without the limitations. So the labor market information, this is all based on Saskatchewan, so the province of Saskatchewan here, and it gives some really good information. So all this information can be found on our website at workprep.ca. But this one here, we go over the modules and some of the things. So we talk a little bit about the career, what industries, what kind of employers would employ these roles. We look at the current positions in Saskatchewan. So this is really important as well if you're looking at potentially pursuing some schooling in that, and you want to know, if I'm going to invest, say, 2-3 years into this, how many jobs are going to be available, and is this going to be an industry that's growing? So we also have the 3-year projection in there. We'll on the next slide, we'll have a look at an example, which you'll get a better idea. But other areas that we're going to look at is the average annual salary. So you look at kind of what the average salary is for that role, as well as the requirements. So some of them have different streams that you can go into. Sorry, I don't know if you can hear the vacuum in the back, but some of them will have some different streams. So the heavy equipment operator is going to have two. One will be a 1 to 2 year course that you can take, as well as some on-the-job training as another entry requirement. And then finally, we'll look at soft skills. So soft skills is some of the attention to detail, time management, working under pressure. So these are some of the areas. So say you try one of the modules and you think, yeah, some of these areas I really liked, but there was a few red flags and I probably couldn't do this. We'll look at some of the other jobs that have some of those strength areas that we've identified and help guide you into them. And then the final one, the link to the Statistics Canada website. So this will take you to the NOC code. So you'll go in, we can go through if you're looking on Indeed or SAS Jobs and having a look at some of the different options. It'll be a good breakdown for different job titles, some of the job duties that would be involved in these. So we can go through quite the process there. So I mentioned, so this is an example of what you'd see on the website here. So I just click over to the laser pointer. So you can see here, we're looking at the heavy equipment operator here in Saskatchewan. Currently there's 5,280 jobs available, with an additional 540 more that are looking in the next 3 years. So you're looking at a growth rate of between 10 and 11% now. So the average salary is $72,700. Obviously, you know that if you decide this is the career path for me, you know that you're going to have quite a good quality of life at that rate. And then we move down to the employment requirements. So this is what I mentioned earlier. We have a 1 to 2 year apprenticeship program. So there is different colleges around Saskatchewan and throughout Canada that have different programs. And a lot of people also find that they do a lot of on-the-job training, and then they go up through the ranks there. So we had a gentleman that was working out of town who had switched careers. as working in oil and gas, and was looking for something a little bit different with a little bit more stability and something that would be able to provide for his family. So I'd identified some heavy equipment operators who's spent the last 6 months working in a rock truck and is looking at potentially moving into some of the other different pieces of machinery. So he's working with his employer and seeing kind of which ones he could get some training in and potentially some tickets. So there's definitely the two routes into this one. But moving down, the in-demand soft skill that they've kind of listed is attention to detail. You're operating a large piece of machinery. There's a wide variety of pieces that you can operate. But having attention to detail, as you can imagine, your swing radius on one piece will be a little bit different than the other one. So really knowing your machine, really feeling comfortable. The other one we can say is whenever you are operating, it's really good to see folks who are, you know, if you're a little bit unsure, slowing right down as you move into more critical danger areas, and those are the folks that generally do quite well in some of these careers. And then finally, at the very bottom, you can see the link to the StatsCan website, heavy equipment operator in particular as well. If you look at the job titles, there's about 60 or 70 different ones. So there's all different kinds of machinery that you can be involved in, operating them, and it gives you an idea of what some of the potential opportunities are. You can find them in oil and gas job sites, construction. I know the city, there was quite a few out there earlier in the summer. So there's quite a variety. Like if you're looking for some like out of town work, if you're looking for something closer to home, there's quite a variety in this field. And then finally, so we have some trailers. I'm going to see if I can pull this up streamlessly. We got. So I don't know if you can hear the audio.
We can see it fine, but there's no audio for us, but we can still see what's happening.
Oh, there's no audio?
No.
I'm just going to put the link in the yeah, I'll just put the link at the end of the video, at the demonstration here. So I'll switch back. So how you can try VR. So there is, so we are taking people to come down. So you can go through, send me an email. So my email is listed there, dprice@workprep.ca. My phone number is listed there as well, if you prefer to phone. But before you want to, and if say you want to have a look at the different options, so there is a link to our website, so workprep.ca/virtual reality. So that will give you an idea of some of the some of the modules. So there's a video for each one. So there's 15 videos on there to give you a bit of an idea of what the careers are. But if you're not sure and you still want to try it out, you could just say, hey, look, I'm looking for something to spark my interest. This is some of the things that, what would you recommend? And we can guide you into some of the videos. So the process in total takes around an hour. It's around 20 to 25 minutes for the VR itself. And then we'll have a debrief, we'll discuss, and and we can talk about some of the other opportunities as well. If you are someone who's kind of got an idea of what they want to do, but maybe there's a bit of anxiety or they just don't know about going in and registering, we also have some case managers here as well. So all these services are completely free, but you can meet with one of the case managers and it'll help you give a bit of a guide on the path that you need to get into some of these. So they'll provide some of the contacts, some of the areas to get a little bit more information, whether it's at SAS Polytech or one of the other places on where you can go for some of that information. So that brings it to the end of the presentation here. I don't know if on the line here we have any questions, anything that I can answer.
Daniel, how would this work for grades 10 to 12 students? How could they take part in what you just offered?
So it is a good question. So if we can bring in students, also alternatively, we can talk to the teachers and guidance counselors. I did mention it was mobile, so arranging with the school to maybe come out and provide that safe environment. So everything is mobile. We have the unit itself, the mobile, the laptop, as well as the VR headset is quite easy to bring around, as well as the clean box. If you are interested, we can bring you into work prep here itself, or if there is interest in the schools itself, it'd be really great to kind of work with some of the schools. It's quite a new tool, and it's one of the things that I know I wish, when I was kind of going through school, deciding what I wanted to do when I grew up, it just provides a bit of opportunity and context. So it's one of the things that I wish I had available at my disposal, because it does open up a lot of potential opportunities, and it gives you an idea of some positions that you would never have considered before. So in that case, probably sending the email, and then we can discuss, whether it would be better to bring them in. So slotting them in for a slot. Obviously, you got your school curriculum, which is important, but then maybe kind of reaching out to the school and saying, hey, we've got some interest from the students. Would this be possible? Because we just need a 10 by 10 space, essentially, to run it safely.
Thank you, Daniel. Right after we host a spotlight, we normally send out an email to all of our schools promoting the YouTube channel that this is going to end up on. So it's nice to know the process of how teachers and students can take advantage of this opportunity, because it truly is amazing. So yeah, we will include that in our email to this counselors to promote it with their students, and even some of our trades teachers and so forth. Are there any other questions from our audience that's present, or anybody from this office?
No.
It was truly awesome. We're very fortunate to have you in the city, to give students access to such awesome opportunities. So
we are looking, so depending, I guess, with the situation with the pandemic, but we are looking, I know we've got a bit of interest outside in some of the regional areas. So it is something that I'm quite excited over the coming months. If we're given the green light, to be able to reach out to some more remote communities to provide this service. So it is just the nature of it being quite mobile. It allows us to get out to some kind of harder to reach spots in the province and then kind of provide the same service. So.
You had mentioned that, and I was keeping track of the 15 just because that's going to be part of our email, just to let counselors know what options students have. But you had mentioned that you had some upcoming VRs. So you had mentioned a commercial electrician, agriculture, mechanics. What were some of the other ones, just so that I could give that list out of that they can look forward to?
Yeah, of course. So there's going to be 5 coming out in the spring of this year. So these ones are trade-based modules. So they're mechanic, carpenter, plumber, millwright, and a commercial electrician. So this one will be a little bit different from the residential one. And then at the end of 2021 here, that's when we have 5 agricultural-based ones, which I know I'm very excited about, because it's, like I mentioned, agriculture has come a long way. There's definitely a lot of scientific, push for it to become quite modern. So it's really interesting to see some of the career opportunities that are available that will be coming up in the agricultural sector.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Okay.
Of course.
Yeah, thanks again, Daniel, for this information to help students in their quest to make a better choice about their future employment opportunities. And I'm looking forward to all the students getting in on the PA teachers. It'd be just perfect for them, I think. But
yeah, and it was a really important point, and this just before we finish, it was the teacher side, I think. So how we use it here is we generally have a case manager that sits in, and I perform the role if I'm the only one doing it. The first few times you run through, you think the actual VR part is the really cool part, but it's actually the observations, and it's really interesting. We've had case managers, we've had students that just open up, they identify some areas that they didn't know that they were strong in. So having that discussion, it's one of the real strengths of VR, and you're doing it in a safe environment. So I think even with the teachers, to have that ability, where you're not just relying on, say, what a student says, or you can identify some real key competency in any of these modules. So it's a really interesting tool, and I think if the teachers get the chance to try it out, I think I'd love to be able to show that aspect.
Yeah, thank you for that. That's awesome to know. Okay, I think, like Doug said, thank you so much, and I'm going to stop the recording now.